Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about classroom management strategies for grades 3 through 5. My name is Ethan Laderman.
I'm Ed McCarthy.
I'm Cody Lewis. I'm Dominic Scirico.
I'm Sean McKim.
Our plan for this podcast today, we're going to talk about building relationships with our students. Then we're going to talk about setting routines and expectations with our classes. And then we're going to finish off with how to handle behavior management with these ages. So to start off, we'll just talk about building relationships with our students and why it's so important. And I think it starts right when you greet them at the door. So when students get dropped off by their classroom teacher to the gymnasium, you can stand at the door, give them a little fist bump, see how they're doing, check in with them. Then you could also talk about their interests with the students, showing them that you care, showing that you want to get to know them, you want them in your class.
Some ways you can do that is by first week or so, talk about things they like, give them maybe a little slip of paper, write 5 things down about what your 5 interests are in the class and things you might want to do in phys ed.
I like that a lot. That shows that they have some say in what they're going to get to learn. That's a really great thing.
It also helps tailoring lessons to what you're going to do. If you know you have a lot of students that are particularly interested in basketball, you're going to spend more time in a basketball unit. Keeps them more involved and engaged.
Absolutely. Other things that you could do in the first week with your class, you can maybe talk about a contract with your students to see how they want to make the classroom a positive and inclusive environment. And something that we learned is it's called a 5-finger contract. So when you look at your hand, you got 5 fingers. You can start at the thumb, and that one could be about respect. So you can give a thumbs up for kindness. You could treat classmates, teachers, and equipment with respect. Moving down to your pointer finger, that's about responsibility. You could take ownership for your choices with the equipment that you're using. Finally, next we'll have the middle finger. That's all about being safe. So you can keep your hands, your stuff that you're using in the gymnasium to yourself, moving around safely. Ring finger talks about being kind and supportive, showing commitment to yourself, to others, to the class. And finally, rounding out your finger, you got the pinky finger, to be your best. Always try your hardest, always try your best. Come to class with a positive attitude.
I think when you're doing that, the class needs to be involved in making it.
Absolutely.
It's important that they choose what they want each finger to represent, and then to have that up on the walls all year long.
Definitely. Giving them the choice and option to really take ownership over their class. Going next.
Another thing you can do throughout the school year is being involved in the community. So even though you're coaching one sport and you have other students that are playing different sports, you can show up to their sporting events. And it just shows that you care about them and that you're always there for them. Because you're the role model in the classroom, and as a teacher, you want to be there for all your students.
Definitely being consistent. You could also, during class, giving feedback, just letting them know they're doing a great job. It could be general, could be specific, just letting them know that you're watching them, you see them, showing that you care.
That builds the trust between the student and the teacher, and the trust is the most important part when things do start to happen in your classroom. It allows your teacher to be in control. It allows the student to be responsive to the activities in the class.
I think it goes to being outside of the school, going to community events, if there's a town day or whatever, going to that and showing face there.
Definitely. All right, going right along. Actually, there's one more thing we wanted to talk about. We want to talk about PBIS, and PBIS was...
It's a positive behavioral intervention and support framework. It's evidence-based for supporting students' behavioral, academic, social, emotional, and mental health. There's 5 key elements, which starts with equity, branches off into data, systems, practices, and outcomes. also works with supporting staff and student behaviors, social competence, and academic achievement, as well as supporting decision making. And when you look at PBIS, it's a tiered framework. So it starts at the bottom. It's universal and for all, supports students, educators, and staff across all school settings. Collaborating with students, families, and educators to define positive school program-wide expectations to prioritize appropriate social, emotional, and behavioral skills. It aligns with classroom expectations. Tier 2 is a more targeted side. About 10 to 15% of your students will need some type of Tier 2 support, which can consist of providing additional instruction and practice for behavioral, social, emotional, and academic skills. And then Tier 3 is the more intensive and individualized support that students need, engaging students, educators, and families in functional behavioral assessments and intervention planning.
All right. Moving right along, now we'll go to our next topic of discussion, which is setting routines and expectations within the class.
Setting routines, you need to be specific. It allows the students to know exactly what they need to do when they enter the classroom and throughout the entirety of the class. This allows for efficient classroom time and effective classroom activities.
Especially with these age groups, them being so young, structure, being organized, all of that will definitely, one, like you said, make the class be efficient, but also them growing up, keep learning with structure, everything being organized, routines. That'll be great for their development. You could also start having like morning meetings, check-ins with the kids. So going back to what we talked about in the first segment about greeting them at the door, fist bumps, morning meetings, check-in could be as quick as a thumbs up. How's everyone doing today? It could be if you see a kid that's not acting like themselves, you maybe pull them to the side, see what's going on. It just goes back to showing them that you care, that you want them to be there and you want to be there for them. You want to talk about classroom jobs and roles?
Yeah, so some things you can do also is have kids each week can plan out a jobs that the students can have so they feel more involved in the classroom as well. Those can be many different things. It could be like kids can grab the equipment, help you out, be equipment manager for the day, be like assistant coach for the day and help you teach maybe, and help you like present a lesson or an activity that you have going on that day.
Definitely. You want to talk about why routines and having a plan is super important?
Having a plan in the classroom is important because the kids need to know what they're doing throughout the class, and it's important that even you could do like something visual. You could have a whiteboard in the gym, and you could write down what like the warm-up is, and then you write down which tasks they'll do throughout the class, and it will just keep the classroom moving smoothly and keep the kids' time on task.
In class, you could also have, it's very important to have signals for attention. So when you're doing an activity, making a quick signal for attention, just make sure the kids know when it's time to listen to you, the teacher. So just a mock schedule or routine for a class could be the students enter the gym, they sit down at their spots. You can make it fun for them. You can have shapes on the ground, however you want to really make it. You can have a warm-up. One of the schools that I go to for my field experience, they have a interactive video on the board every day. So especially right now, it was just Halloween. We did a video saying like this or that. You get the kids up and moving. You get to choose what you'd rather have, and then go along with it goes a fitness activity. So it could be jumping jacks or push-ups. It makes it fun and engaging for the students. It gets the kids warmed up, and it's a great way to start off the class. After that, you can do your instructions, so explain what's going to happen for the day, demo what's going on, give the rules, give the instructions, make sure they're clear. Then you have your activity. During that, like we said before, giving positive feedback, just feedback in general, and then close the lesson. During the lesson, you could have music going just to make it more fun, engaging. Really, anything you could think of to make the kids enjoy being there and in class.
one other thing to add on is at the young age that they're at, 3rd through 5th grade, it's good to start teaching them how to handle the equipment with respect. So having the students help you bring out the equipment so they know where it has to be put back, so they know where to put the stuff, so you're not losing equipment, because it's not good to lose equipment.
Well said. Well said.
I think also when you're managing equipment and trying to keep the class together, having a limited number of students going up, if you say you have a rack of basketballs out and you're having them put them back on the rack, and they're all you can call it up by the color of the ball, instead of having every student come up at one time.
Definitely. All right. Yeah. All right, going on to our last segment. Let's talk about behavior management and how to deal with anything that can come up in the gymnasium.
I think with behavior management, it's important to know what you the level of it. If it's something minor, spinning around in a circle while you're talking, but the class has stopped. If that's not necessarily something that needs to be intervened with, and you can let it go, oftentimes they'll stop doing what they're doing, so they're not getting the attention they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important to stay consistent. If you give one punishment to a student for a certain behavior, giving every student that same type of punishment and reaction, then if you're pulling out one student for talking, separate, pulling out the other student they were talking to.
Something that happened to me when I was in high school. There's a lot of kids acting out in class, so in the beginning of every class, we had a morning meditation. So in that class, it was if kids were getting stressed out a lot about things and acting out in phys ed, because that's when you're active and getting engaged in a lot of things. It was ran by one of the PE teachers, just 5 minutes of just meditation, maybe some ocean waves to calm you down a little bit until you get physically active in that activity of the day.
I like that. There's a time and place for being crazy, and then there's time and place for centering yourself, getting ready, knowing there's recess time, then there's learning time. So that can set the tone for learning time.
I saw a huge impact on that, because that happened the second half of the year, and from the first half to the second half was a huge change in kids' behaviors in the class.
Definitely. Going back to what Sean said about how there could be minor behaviors and major misbehaviors, we talk about annoying little things that kids do. We know how students that are in 3rd through 5th grade, they can just be inappropriate, but they could also be harmful behaviors. So knowing how to manage and handle those, something minor, like Sean said, you can address it, but don't lose your mind over it. Something that's harmful to either themselves or another student, that's something more major. You got to address that immediately. Just knowing how and when to address those behaviors is very important.
I think that ties back into your expectations, making sure the students are aware at the start of the year, all right, you're misbehaving the first time. It's sit out. We'll have a conversation about it as soon as the activity starts again, and it's the second time it keeps getting more and more severe until eventually it can lead to call home, if that's what it results to.
Mm-hmm. I also think that brings up another really important piece of the whole puzzle. When teaching, we're obviously teaching skills, but we're teaching students and we're teaching people. So at the end of the day, teaching moments are very important. So having your students understand why you're doing certain things. So understanding why you need to have respect for yourself, others, and the equipment. Understanding why you're handling certain behaviors and how you're handling them. Just having the students really understand the reason as to why us teachers are doing anything, that's really important, because we don't want to just have the students listen to us like robots. We want them to buy in. We want them to grow personally and in just every aspect of their life. So all of these behavior management strategies that we've talked about, hopefully you can use those in your future classrooms. But I think we talked about a lot of great things. Let's recap all of them. So we talked about building relationships with your students and why it's so important. We talked about how to show up for them, how to let them know that we're here for them, giving them choices and giving them ownership and leadership over their education within phys ed. Then we talked about routines and expectations and why structure is super important for these students developmentally. And finally, for all us phys ed teachers, aspiring teachers out there, we talked about behavior management, strategies, skills, and what to look for and how to handle them. So once again, thank you for listening to our podcast. I hope you thought this was helpful. Have a great rest of your day.